Welcome back, guys. So right here we have a Tyco 440X2. This car's already been hopped up, but today we're going to talk about removing the traction magnets and installing new ones, which also involves pulling the motor out, making sure all that stuff stays together, doesn't pull apart. But we are going to be installing the Viper. These are Pro 8 traction mags, so 11303. So we're going to go ahead and pull those out of the box here. And the first thing, out of the package, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the face of the magnet, which I reference the face facing the track. That's what I call the face. And what we want to do is we want to see which side of the motor magnet that attracts to. So you can see here, that attracts to that side. This one will attract to this side. So because these magnets are north-south oriented, you will get that. A lot of the stock magnets are not north-south oriented. They're one orientation. So if you try this, you might find that they both stick to one side, and unfortunately, if that's the case, then you can't set that up in high downforce mode. But by having them positioned this way, that will be high downforce. So the first thing that I will do is I will go ahead and mark the one that attracts to the passenger side of my car. So passenger side if you're in America, if you're in Europe, then you know the drill. But we'll go ahead and pull these over to the side, and the first thing that I'm going to do right now is, pop the rear end out. We're going to just set all this stuff off to the side here. Also too, if you don't have a silver Sharpie, these are super useful with all HO slot cars. So it's metallic silver. It's not the super thin point. I believe they just call this a fine point. And then I store them in tubes upside down like this. All my Sharpies, we use them all the time. So right now we're gonna go ahead and pull the pickup shoes off of this guy. And if you wanted to mark these, you could. I mean, definitely could, especially if you're, if this is your first time and you're not sure what quite to look for on stuff. I recommend marking those sides. So you'll see your motor magnet here has a white mark on it. Sometimes it's on the bottom, but for this car, it's on the top. You want to keep your magnet on that side, and your traction mag also. If you were to put this on this side, then the armature would spin in the opposite direction, which isn't the end of the world. Then you just have to pop your gear set onto the other side. But if the armature has timing in it, then you don't want to do that because you'd be running it the opposite of the way that it's intended to be run. So just take it apart, put it back together the same way that it came. And if you end up shooting your rubber band like that, you'll need to find it. Okay, so that green band had officially left the chat. Now we're going to be putting a pink one on. You could pull the pinion off. That would obviously make it quite a bit easier, but I'm not, just because if you don't have to remove the pinion, you don't want to. The more times you pull that on and off, the more the board gets stretched out. But you can see we have our motor band on there. That's going to help keep our whole motor assembly set up. We also, too, just for good measure, we're going to go ahead and mark this side, even though we don't actually know if this is set up in high downforce or low downforce. But since we're swapping the mags, we might as well do that. So we're going to flip the car over. I'm going to pull the side of the chassis out, and then with my index finger, I'm going to push the motor assembly up, which pops it up and out. Okay, so we'll set that aside here. And you can see these traction magnets have attracted to each other. So these are most likely aftermarket traction mags because they're full height. These probably BSRT or Wizard, and they are north-south oriented. So that's good to know. These are kind of good old super stock traction magnets from back in the day, but we're going to be putting in some real stuff. So we're going to put our white side, okay, which is down, and our car is upside down. So all of these things here, we want them to match up. We're going to go ahead and put this magnet in. And when you get into the stronger magnets, or if your chassis starts getting worn out, you are going to get it to where everything wants to snap together. So I've seen guys put an old tire in there. That definitely works. You can put a let's see here. You can put a slip-on tire in there. I like to use my middle finger up from underneath, and we're just going to basically reverse the process here. You can see everything looks all contorted and off, and that's just because it's not positioned correctly. But now we have everything in. You want to make sure that your bulkheads are snapped into place, okay? And we're ready to reinstall our pickup shoes. Okay, I always put the spring toward the armature, and I'm also, with my index finger, I am holding that in. You can see our spring install removal video for more tips on that, but you want to make sure that all that stuff's in there and back together correctly. And that's pretty much it. You can go ahead and pull off your motor band, use that for a later date. But now that baby has high downforce, a lot more traction. Definitely going to want to put bigger tires on it. If you happen to not have a bigger size tire and the car just seems sluggish, you can actually swap the traction mag side to side. That's what we call low downforce. It'll reduce your downforce by about 15%, but it'll also give you more power. So sometimes it's counteractive in the sense of, you know, you've reduced downforce, but you've also increased speed. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Check out our other videos, and we'll see you later.